Hello and welcome. You're watching NewsX with me, Devika Chopra. Ferozepur cantonment carried out a 30-minute blackout rehearsal amid mounting tensions between India and Pakistan. The exercise, which took place between 9 to 9:30 p.m., aimed to test preparedness for implementing a blackout procedure during periods of increased security threats. The Punjab State Power Corporation Limited cut off power for 30 minutes, while hooters were sounded continuously throughout the drill. As per senior officers, lights were fully switched off. If any vehicle was found with lights on, it was turned off as well. This drill brought back memories of the 1971 Bangladesh Liberation War, where turning off lights was a common practice to hinder enemy aircraft's visibility. In fact, the last such rehearsal was conducted in December 2001 to January 2002, following the 13th December 2001 Parliament terror attack. But what really are the larger implications of some of these measures that India is taking? I take that conversation forward. I have with me on the broadcast Major General Anuj Mathur, Senior Defence Expert. Wing Commander Praful Bakshi will be with us shortly. Captain Alok Bansal with us on the broadcast, and Mr. Sanjay Sahai, former IPS officer, with us on the broadcast as well. Let me begin with Major General Anuj Mathur. Major General Mathur, we have not entirely, or in as many words, spoken about what India will really do as far as Pakistan is concerned. We've taken certain steps such as the suspension of the Indus Water Treaty. We have decided to suspend trade with Pakistan as well, and we have shut down our airspace. These are some of the three major steps that India has taken so far. But no leadership in India has really spoken about any form of strikes or any form of military engagement so far vis-a-vis Pakistan. Under such circumstances, however, given that Pakistan continues the war hysteria, how crucial do such drills become? Also, I'd like to just point out to our viewers and to our guests as well that a few days back, similar drills were also being conducted near the international border and the LOC, wherein students studying in schools in these areas were being trained on what to do in case there is any sort of military conflict. But Major General Anuj Mathur, how crucial does it become for us to be prepared as civilians?
Thank you, Devika. See, the issue is that we need to be prepared. What response India has given so far to the Pakistanis' act, a heinous act in Pahalgam, you know, there is always a system of graduated response, and utilization of a military tool is one of the ladders of that graduated response. And so far, to my mind, India has taken some excellent steps, and this kind of a thing has made Pakistan suffer. I'll tell you how. It is very commonly said in the armed forces that you must strike where it hurts most. And what will hurt most a country which has been bailed out 24 times by the IMF is anything on their economy. Their economy is fragile, and the people are actually really fed up of the kind of inflation they are living in and the kind of prices, that everything economically they are fed up. So anything which can trouble them more on this front. We said that yesterday, there are three fronts where we fight war: economic front, information or psychological front, and then physically on ground. And this is a proper economic warfare going on against the Pakistanis. So, but Pakistani's reaction, as we said that little while ago also, it has been disproportionate. And they are testing missiles one after the other. They are doing every possible thing. They have handed over their railway stations to the armed forces, and they have shut down their airfields. So they are overreacting, and in turn losing a lot of money. So my take is that we need to be very careful. More importantly, in those cantonments which are very close to the international border. If you have a look at, I've served there. If you have a look at Ferozepur cantonment, it is virtually hugging the international border, and that is why in all our previous engagements there has been activity, there has been actions both on both sides of the international border in that general area. We have fought north of it, we have fought south of it. We actually went in a few kilometers inside Pakistan. We touched the Lahore border. So this is a very, very important area. And if there is a war, should Pakistan decide to escalate it, or one of way we decide to escalate, this is going to be one of the important areas for conflict. That is why an overall part of an overall plan for defensive, but thing being done at Ferozepur, it means that.
Okay. I want to bring in Mr. Sanjay Sahai as well. Mr. Sahai, what becomes the role then of the local administration and the police in such a situation where, like I said, at this point in time, it is simply preparedness of the civilians that is being kept in mind when these drills are being carried out. But what becomes the role of local administration?
Administration plays a very commendable role, and what exercise happened yesterday, I think the cohesion between the local administration and the cantonment administration was not to a level of a seamless level, because when this war situation arises, I think lots of things depends on the very calibrated, structured and well thought out, templatized communication and execution at the ground level. Ferozepur, as the general was talking about, so it is in the thick of things, and Ferozepur has seen these sorts of drills earlier also. In the present situation where we are in, lots of civilian, sort of a diplomatic, civilian and trade related bans have already taken place, and I think the country is waiting for some sort of a action which is above and beyond what has happened so far. And in the fitness of things, preparedness needs to be there. What will happen, in which manner it will happen, when it will happen, it is not in our hands, and that is certainly a part of military strategy and the country's strategy, and that will not be known to us until and unless that whole exercise starts. But for as far as we are concerned, it has to be a total preparedness, and civilians form an important part of this whole exercise, because if casualties were to happen on the civilian side, it takes the war to a totally different situation, and the sympathy factor inside the country might also change. So civilians have to be ready. In 65, 71, 2001 and 2002 January, these exercises have taken place. What the exercise which took place yesterday, so there are some gaps and lack of coordination and other things, and might be these exercises will help to bring it to a completely seamless level. In any war situation or any crisis situation, the civilian administration and the military, they work hand in hand, and more so in a warlike situation where there is huge amount of effort which happens from the civilian administration, which also includes the police, so that the whole area is governed in a manner, in a totally crisis scenario, and people don't bear the brunt of whatever is happening on the border.
Okay, Wing Commander Praful Bakshi, I want to bring you into the conversation, sir. We're also pointing out how, of course, we have held such mock drills in the past, and also, in fact, held full blackouts. I do remember my parents telling me about the 65 war, about the 71 war, how the administration and the governments would train them on a blackout situation. Back in the day, there were bunkers that were built, and as soon as you heard the siren, you had to go into the bunker. And this is, of course, something that I only know from stories that have been told to me, passed down generations from grandparents and parents at this point in time. But Wing Commander Bakshi, I want to understand from your point of view. Today, in the sort of technical advancements that we see, as far as our military capability is concerned and as far as our Air Force capabilities are concerned, do such blackouts continue to play a crucial role in, say, avoiding or giving any sort of specific information about locations to the adversary?
Devika, you have taken words out of my mouth. Thank you very much. Let me tell you one thing. If you have to face attack, there are a number of steps have to be taken, and I'm witness to both 65 and 71. 71, of course, I was fighting the war, and 65 I was a cadet. But let me tell you, what you are asking, blackout plays a very important role.
Yes.
It is not only that nowadays we have so much advanced technology so that whether you see the target or not, no, that is not the case. The light on the ground helps a lot. And it is not only aerial attack. There are other agencies which are operating from the ground. There are other agencies which do not have the technology. But let me tell you one thing. There is an organization called Civil Defense. I'm afraid we don't know about civil defense. If you ask anybody from civil defense, he'll say Home Guard. Your question is civil defense has a very particular role. Devika, civil defense is a protected organization. They don't take part in war. They prepare the public to face the consequence of the war. They're building the underground bunkers, trenches, bomb disposal units, firefighting units, dead body evacuation units. All these things come in civil defense. And civil defense, and not only this, now we have started talking in terms of nuclear war. Everybody says, oh, we are nuclear, you are nuclear. Yes, there can be tactical nuclear weapons also, low yield. Are we ready for that? Does our civil defense done any exercise on that? There are secret civil defense, nuclear shelters, nuclear medicinal devices, nuclear recovery centers. So many things have to be looked into. It is not a joke. And normal exercise requires major underground bunkers, air raid warnings, and then there are how railway plays an important role, how observation posts play an important role. Recently, some school children have been inducted into this exercise. This half-hearted measures will not do. What happened in Ferozepur, I am not aware because I was not there. But let me tell you one thing. This requires immense amount of preparation. Not only this, your bunker, even your houses, etc., important places, sandbags are put. Sandbag filling takes months. When 71 war took place, the work started from April onwards. March, April, work started on the various airfields, etc. Then only the job was done. So this is a very important thing. The civil defense then calls for an exercise. The siren, how the various agencies work, what is the role of the police, what is the role of the railways, what is the role of the hospitals, what happens, everything becomes a very, very crucial juncture. So I personally feel until and unless we conduct 2 or 3 exercises, we have only talked about it in Delhi, nobody has ever conducted. I have not taken part in any of the exercise in Delhi. This is a must. We have to do it. First thing, we must learn what civil defense is. I have talked to very senior officials of civil defense. They could not even recognize the symbol of civil defense. They could not recognize. Can you beat it? So I'm afraid the misinformation and lack of information is rampant in this game. We have to now wake up, because I'll tell you, today if there are 4 missiles, imagine they land somewhere close to Delhi. I assure you, the same thing will happen. What happened in 65 in Jodhpur? I saw the Jodhpur was getting evacuated. The Pali road was chock-a-block. Then half the Delhi will start running towards bus stops and railway stations and things, because we are not used to it. Mentally, we are not used to it. We have to get mentally used to it by exercises. So we must prepare ourselves, involve NCC, involve students, involve all these things, agencies to create these exercises. Devika, this is a very important point. Let us not underplay it and undermine it.
Okay. I want to bring in on that note Captain Alok Bansal into the conversation as well. Captain Alok Bansal, I want to understand from your perspective, sir. As I've mentioned earlier, India has not really said in as many words what really the plan of action will be militarily against Pakistan in terms of strikes and other such means that are available before us. But at the same time, when we carry out certain mock drills, what really is the message that we're then attempting to send out to the enemy state as well?
See, firstly, you need to understand that India's military strategy cannot be spelled out on television in studios.
Surely, yes.
We have a military leadership which is deciding what to do, and that obviously cannot be made public. We have a competent leadership at the national level as well as the military level, which will take action. What is required, when and where, is to be decided by them, and that complete autonomy has been given to them by the government. So this is not an issue which can be revealed to public on television. Secondly, very strongly believe that threat of war is far more debilitating for Pakistan than the war itself. And as a result, as long as you are prepared and you keep preparing for war, Pakistan is far more troubled than if you go in and start attacking them. So let them keep guessing. That is far more dangerous for them. Their troops will remain deployed at a time when they are facing severe economic hardship as well as internal disturbances. There are turbulence in Balochistan. You saw yesterday Quetta-Karachi highway was blocked by BLA. They attacked, they took over. There are attacks taking place, or there is a firing going on Afghan border. There is problem on Iran border. So at such a situation, if they are deployed all along their eastern front and they don't know when the attack is coming or when a next action is going to come, that is going to be far more problematic for Pakistan than if they go into a conflict where they can localize the forces and see what has to be done. So that is how it is. And coming to the issues like blackout, yes, I think this country's populace at large has to be geared up for a conflict. We have lived in peace for too long. I think the civilians and the others also need to know what are their responsibilities in times of war. So they need to be prepared for these actions. I think they need to understand what is required to be done. And I think that is where these are very important, irrespective of the technology that have crept in, the GPS and other things. Blackout is still a very, very potent defensive measure, and that needs to be practiced, and that will have to be practiced.
Okay, I request all our guests to stay on with us. We also have some sound bites of residents that have come in last night. Listen in.
ਇਹ ਕੈਂਟ ਬੋਰਡ ਵੱਲੋਂ ਮੌਕ ਡਰਿਲ ਕੀਤੀ ਗਈ ਹੈ ਜੀ। ਅੱਜ ਇੱਥੇ ਸਾਰਾ ਬਲੈਕਆਊਟ ਦਾ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਮੈਸੇਜ ਪਾਇਆ ਸੀਗਾ ਸਾਰਿਆਂ ਨੂੰ ਤੇ ਬਲੈਕਆਊਟ ਹੋਇਆ ਫਿਰ ਹਾਂਜੀ ਹਾਂਜੀ ਪੂਰਾ ਸਮਰਥਨ ਦਿੱਤਾ ਜੀ। ਪੂਰੇ ਦੁਕਾਨਦਾਰਾਂ ਨੇ ਘਰਾਂ ਨੇ ਸਭ ਨੂੰ ਪੂਰਾ ਸਮਰਥਨ ਮਿਲਿਆ ਜੀ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ। ਇੱਕ ਰਿਹਰਸਲ ਹੈ ਮਤਲਬ ਕਿ ਜਿਸ ਦੀ ਸਿਚੁਏਸ਼ਨ ਬਣੀ ਹੋਈ ਹੈ ਲੜਾਈ ਦੀ ਉਸ ਲਈ ਇੱਕ ਰਿਹਰਸਲ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਕਰਵਾਈ ਹੈ ਜੀ।
ਇਹ ਦੁਕਾਨਾਂ ਤੇ ਲਾਈਟਾਂ ਬੰਦ ਸੀ, ਘਰਾਂ ਦੀ ਲਾਈਟਾਂ ਬੰਦ ਸੀਗੀਆਂ।
ਹਾਂਜੀ ਸਰ ਹਾਂਜੀ ਪੂਰਾ ਸਮਰਥਨ ਜੋ ਵੀ ਮਤਲਬ ਕਿ ਮੈਸੇਜ ਸਾਨੂੰ ਆਇਆ ਸੀਗਾ ਪੂਰਾ ਸਮਰਥਨ ਜੋ ਆਪਣਾ ਕੈਂਟ ਬੋਰਡ ਨੂੰ ਫੌਜ ਨੂੰ ਸਭ ਨੂੰ।
Alright, so there you heard Major Anuj Mathur, a civilian there in Ferozepur giving a soundbite after the blackout saying situation bani hui hai ladai ki. So clearly at the back of everyone's minds we are somewhere expecting something to happen. And as I've been saying, obviously we cannot know when or what will happen, but without creating the sort of war hysteria that Pakistan has created in its own country at this point in time, what really would you suggest can civilians and families do in order to be prepared for any war-like situation? Something that one can do to just be a little bit ahead of the curve.
Devika, I couldn't hear you well, but I can guess what you've asked. See what civilians can do to be prepared. See, I tell you what, the battlefield transparency has improved manifold. But the fact of the matter is that the troops are fighting, the armies will fight, but a much larger effect of that will be on the civilian population. Either side, this way or that way, there will be a flow of refugees. There will be a flow of people who got injured. There will be people. Other things will happen. How will they save themselves? How will they safeguard against an air strike? When there is a physical assault on a city, or how do they save themselves, and how they can contribute towards the overall effort of the war. What Wing Commander Bakshi said, I am in absolute agreement with what he says, that the unfortunate part is that we are not prepared, and we don't even want to prepare. There are situations where we need to talk to people about the chemical, biological, CBRN warfare, because CBRN warfare is a reality. Last 10 days have seen a kind of rhetoric which the Pakistanis are carrying, and that we'll use chemical, biological, whatever nuclear. So the issue is that people need to be aware, one, of what the situation is, two, how they can contribute to the overall effort. By it can be many ways. and there are supposed to be many conferences and many rehearsals of a few things which must take place. Actually, they are supposed to be taking place, as you were saying, in civil defense regularly, but that unfortunately does not happen. But now at least they should know what can be the effect of the war, if there is a war, and how they need to get into the security agencies, and how they can save themselves, and how they can contribute to the overall war effort. Devika, one more thing that I would like to tell you, that a nuclear affair is a real possibility, because seeing the kind of things which Pakistan is in, and they are aware that they can either fight with India in a low intensity, low cost option, or they can take it to the other end of the spectrum. When it comes to conventional warfare, Pakistanis stand no chance, more importantly today because of their economic and otherwise military condition. So my take is that there is a requirement for people to be, one, aware, two, they need to be very prepared for a possible strike. I said that earlier also. This is a place, if the balloon goes up, this place will surely get activated. So it is overall the international border and the line of control, but some places are more important in the senses they get involved in the battle right from the word go. And to my mind, a proper coordination and proper rehearsed type of activities between the defense security agencies and the civilians is very essential. Hospitals will have to be activated. Railways play a tremendous role. The buses, they need to be told if there is a need. There is a system of impounding or acquiring the transport to make up for the shortfall of the transport. So they need to be sure that told that there is a possibility of some army fellow coming and requesting you for the vehicle, they'll be stopped. So there are so many activities that will take place when the mobilization is actually ordered, Devika, and those things people must be aware and should be prepared to work with the security agencies.
Volunteer.
Okay, I want to bring in Wing Commander Praful Bakshi as well. Wing Commander Bakshi, your thoughts on the same?
Devika, and thank you, General Mathur, because he brought out so many nice points which we have witnessed. So I'll tell you, if you have noticed, if you read about NCC, 1962, 1965, senior wing NCC cadet was escorting the ammunition train and military trains. But you cannot even imagine now. That thing, at that level, that people were involved.
Invite, I'll just send it.
And they were involved at such a high level. If you now have to prepare in Delhi, Delhi is very important. It is actually a very important place to any degree you can raise. There has to be a joint ops room of the civil defense as well as local defense committees and in a representative of armed forces, especially radar controlled units and artillery units, which are going to be in the ops room with the railway officials, and jointly you will come to know exactly what is happening where, how the civil defense is working. The civil defense has to, when it conduct exercise, the result of the exercise has to be seen, and what happened, where are the shortcomings, and the local chief minister has to be totally on the ball to help out all these agencies, and especially the public has to be made aware that in case when there is the siren, how do you run to the bunker? How do you prepare? The mothers must know what role to play with their children, how to safeguard them. There are so many things. It come out only when you do exercise. The police gets an extra role. The railways get extra role. The hospitals get extra role. There are a lot of volunteers take place. Volunteers come out. Doctors come out. Devika, this has to be seen to be believed. You have to have witness an exercise like this. Unfortunately, we have not even done one. I hope somebody does something about it. General Mathur says something.
Okay.
Devika,
right.
can I come in?
Yes, sir, please.
Devika, there are many other things which matter. We know we've done that in the past. See, once the balloon goes up, you need to transport so many things. Your ammunition has to travel. People have to. So there is a list prepared at each of the station headquarters and at each of the ammunition handling units of the people who will act as supporting, giving the support as. They will not who lift the ammunition and the right kind of ammunition, and it is transported to the thing. So there are so many things, Devika, which need to be done and in which there is a direct involvement. So those lists have to be updated. Their telephone numbers are all kept with people. So transport will be required, manpower will be required. All these things need to be rehearsed, and people should know that this is their duty when it comes to a war towards the security forces.
Okay, I want to bring in lastly Mr. Sanjay Sahai as well. Mr. Sahai, I want to understand from your perspective. Yes, while that is from a military point of view, but like I said, local administration, how crucial does the role become, and what is it that local administration does vis-a-vis the civilian population? Mr. Sahai, we can't hear you, sir.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. Go ahead.
No. I could not hear the question as the
There's something wrong with the audio.
I'm going to request our PCR crew to please look into the audio issue. Mrs. Sai, can you hear me now?
Yeah. Could you?
Yes, Mrs. Sai, just your perspective as far as civilian preparedness is concerned. Like I said, we're not trying to create any sort of war hysteria in India the way Pakistan has been doing since the past 11 days. But yes, we are carrying out several mock drills close to the border areas and now, of course, in Cantt areas as well. But what is it that civilians can do just to be a little bit prepared for any situation?
It is said that those who perspire in peace, I think they bleed less in war. I will not say that they don't bleed in war, but they'll bleed less in war. So first and foremost, in the background, whatever preparedness we are getting in and the various gaps which the military commanders, ex-military commanders have been talking about. So first and foremost, we need a civilian side unified command. Civilian side unified command will take care of literally anything and everything which is being discussed on this panel, and those gaps have to be filled up and those exercises have to happen. And in the age of instant digital communication, I think there should also be a communication backend. We should provide instantaneous communication to whosoever is assigned with which job and in the nature of execution, and instantaneous execution details also has to be brought in there. One thing which is extremely critical and how well prepared we are, I am not aware of, but in the Russian-Ukraine war, I think the bunkers played a huge role in saving lives of civilians. And in our setup, I think if we are still not reached a level of preparedness with regards to bunkers, I think it is required. It will be a humongous task. Nonetheless, I think it is required in areas which are most likely to face those attacks. See, bunkers are a permanent asset. Let's be very clear about it. It is not a military asset or it's not a civilian asset. It is the asset of the nation, and it needs to be created once and for all. And as times go by, wherever it is required further, so that will have to be attended. Now, 2-3 things which are very, very important. So one is we have entered the age of drone warfare. So with various other systems which will be operating when we get into war, if and when we get into war, drones have become an independent operational area of battlefield. So we have to keep that in mind, and drones can attack literally anywhere and everywhere. And we have to be prepared with anti-drone sort of a mechanism. There are technologies available, but the civilian population needs to know that this nature of attack can also happen. Next is the critical infrastructure. The critical infrastructure, physical guarding of critical infrastructure is only one part of the story, and that necessarily has to be done, and we have been doing it since times immemorial in every single battle situation. Now, in critical infrastructure today, side by side with the physical attack, likely physical attack, there is this cyber attack, which gets into the critical infrastructure information part, which is known as the critical information infrastructure, which finally paralyzes the critical infrastructure itself. It can be the back end air traffic control of say whichever area. It can be water supply, it can be power supply, it can be literally anything and everything. And this has happened in a couple of places. In Europe, it has also happened at other places during the Ukraine war. So there is a cyber component which finally brings to interface with the civilian population and impacts the civilian population in very, very critical manner.
Okay, all right. On that note, I've run out of time, but I thank all of our guests for joining us on the broadcast.